casting polyurethane resin parts for automotive applications. Now, casting parts that are going to be used on a car or a motorcycle or dune buggy or whatever, it's a little bit trickier than just regular cast resin parts. A lot of display pieces, cosplay pieces, and figurines and things like that. Those need to be high strength and high impact resistance, but they don't need the high heat deflection that we need on something like this. This, of course, is a dash component. This is an aftermarket part made by 300 Degree. Big thanks to Damon for letting me feature this part in this video. And for the sake of this video, I made my own mold of this using TC5130F platinum silicone. Now, when we're making a part like this, the first step in making sure that we have good, consistent results and high physical properties in every cast part that we want to make sure that we choose a resin that has the properties we want. So in this case, I'm going to be casting these up in TC 804 casting resin. Now, 804 is available in a couple of different formulas. It's available in the standard white formula and also the jet black formula. And in this case, I actually used the white formula and then just added some of the black polyurethane pigment to that to get kind of a charcoal gray. Now, TC804 is an excellent high-performance resin that has high physical properties and, most importantly, high heat deflection. But the way we unlock the full potential of that high heat deflection is through the process of post-curing. So we're going to get into that here in just a minute, but first off, the casting process. When we're casting this, we're going to cast this just like we would any resin part. We're going to mix up our A and B, and we're going to pigment that with the ultra black pigment. Now, TC804 has a working time of about 7 to 8 minutes at room temperature, so we have more than enough time to mix that up and subject the part and the mold to pressure if need be. Now, I typically pressurize parts like this to get a nice bubble-free part at about 50 to 60 psi. Now, the main difference in the casting process actually comes after we demold our cast part. Once we've got our part out of our mold, we're ready to post-cure this part. And you'll see on the data sheet that post-curing for this part is recommended at 160 to 180 F at 16 hours. Now, a part like this, you don't want to put this in a conventional oven or put it right next to a space heat or anything like that. Mild heat is all that's required, and a food dehydrator is great for this, just to apply low heat to this consistently. And some of these dehydrators will even have a timer built in so you can time exactly how long you want to warm up your part. But 160 to 180 F is a relatively low temperature for this. So again, you don't need a conventional oven, just a dehydrator or even a hot box could be used to achieve these post-curing temperatures. Now, a question I get a lot about post-curing is when would I want to post-cure a part like this? And typically thin-walled parts, to really elevate the strength and stability of thin-walled parts, you'd want to post-cure. Also for functional prototypes where you want very consistent physical properties in each one of the parts. And then most importantly, when you want that high heat deflection out of your finished part. Now, post-curing takes a good part and makes it great. So you don't have to post-cure. Again, a lot of applications I've shown on this channel, if you're making Chuck E. Cheese heads or Halo helmets or something like that, as you've seen from our previous videos, those are really strong parts right out of the mold. But when we're making manufactured parts that are actually going to go on a vehicle, we want to make sure that those all have consistent properties. And the best way to guarantee that is through post-curing. Now, polyurethane systems like this are designed to cure at room temperature, but better physicals may be achieved with mild heat. This is because heat generated by the catalyst, the exotherm, is driving the cure. Once the parts start to cool, the exotherm benefits are gone. In a cold mold or cool shop, this can lead to brittle parts or low tear strength, low impact resistance, and sometimes tacky parts, and especially low heat deflection. Adding heat aids the reaction of the catalyst and results in even, consistent cure, especially in thin-walled parts. So it's important to remember that not all resin parts have to be post-cured. In fact, even parts like this, there's a lot of applications where you may not even need to do that. But if we want to unlock the full physical properties of a resin system like this, that is where post-curing helps us get those extra physical properties. And most importantly, for a dash component like this, it helps us unlock that higher heat deflection. And that way we have a part that's not going to warp or bend under high Texas heat. Now, in some cases, when you have really thin-walled parts, like even thinner than this piece, it's a good idea to gradually bring up the heat on your post-cure to that 160, 180F range. If you start out too hot, sometimes you can warp the plastic parts and get the very thing you're trying to avoid. So real important, especially if you're working with something like a food dehydrator, something that might have an uneven surface inside it. If you don't have a jig to support your part, gradually bring up that temperature to that range, and that way you still get those full physical properties without warping the part by subjecting it to high heat too fast. Now, it should go without saying that in this video, I'm specifically referring to the physical properties of TC804 casting resin. You don't want to just grab any casting resin and subject it to 180 degrees and expect the post-curing process to make that a better resin product. So always check the manufacturer's data sheet and make sure that post-curing is something that will complement that resin formula. Now, a good way to think about the post-curing process is analogous to vacuum degassing and to pressure casting. This is just another one of those important tools to make sure that you're aware of when you're casting resin parts, and just ultimately gives you much better results and much higher quality parts. So you don't always have to vacuum degas, you don't always have to pressure cast, and you don't always have to post-cure. But it's important to know those tools are available because those are free extra physical properties sitting out there for the taking. Now, as always, if you appreciate my content, like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. And of course, check the video description. The video description, I'll put all the products that I used for this process, as well as a link to the BJB article about post-curing that goes into much more depth about what exactly is happening inside resin when you're post-curing and the benefits thereof. So again, thanks for watching and thanks for supporting the channel.